that through the safety. Oh, you gotta love it. Yeah, I know. Oh, wow. That's the biggest one yet. Big jumbo perch.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bro Roadshow. I'm glad that you're here now. And how was your deer hunt? I hope it went well. We want to talk about ice fishing. These next few weeks are all about ice, and we could talk about getting out in open water. And there's people still going. Some of the accesses have some boats parked. But thanks for coming along tonight. I want to thank Chesterburg Toyota, Wabash, Indiana. Awesome. Chesterburg Toyota for being a supporter of the show. They're a fantastic dealership, state-of-the-art, new, a place where you get your truck repaired. You could order parts. You could do anything. But Chesterburg Toyota, legendary trucks, really cool people, treat you like family. Stop in if you're looking for a truck. Stop in if you just want to say hi. Talk to Brian and the gang, and they'll treat you right, and they always have coffee. So make sure to stop in there. Of course, visit Bemidji. When you're deciding where to go, you want to come up in this neck of the woods, my neck of the woods, Sam's neck of the woods, definitely go to visit Bemidji. Visit Bemidji will help you figure out where you could go, where you could stay, and they have a list of what's going on. They'll give you clues of where the fish are biting, and so make sure to check out Visit Bemidji when you're heading up in the North Country. Hey, Joe, glad to see you guys are with us. And then also make sure to check out Bemidji Sports Center. You want to get a tricked out ride for the ice. You want to get a new snowmobile, super long track, wide track. Those guys know how to make them ice centric. They trick them out, side by sides, four wheelers. Buy one for the wife. Give it to her as a gift, and then borrow it. Or hey, wives, buy it for yourself and make your guy walk. He's going to drill the holes anyway, and you're going to work your way up there. So make sure to check out Bemidji Sports Center. And before I bring on becoming his own legend, Sam the artist, formerly known as Sam, lure designer, stamp winner, Minnesota walleye stamp, and he's been second and third place in the turkey stamp. This guy knows art. Brooke, go ahead and bring on Sam. We're going to have Nick Cox here in a little bit. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So what's going on in the Bemidji, the greater area there? Any fishing or hunting?
Yeah, well, we just ended with second season of rifle up here. We get 3, but it's been a little bit of a slower year for the rifle season and rifle hunting. I know a few people have gotten deer, but it's been kind of quiet overall. I've been sticking with the bow, staying out there warm with my hunt monkeys, but it's also been quiet for me. The good news is, previously we had some really cold temps, and it's warmed up this week, but it's still getting cold at night. So that water temp staying low. It was like in the 40s yesterday, in the 40s again today, but a lot of ponds froze up overnight. It got really cold. And they stayed. I know even a guy who fished the lake today, something that gets 20 feet deep, and it was skim ice a ways out, even with this warm weather. So I think the water temps are right there. I know you've been out in the water. You can talk a little bit about the temps, but it's going to go quick when it goes. And it looks like next week we got some cold weather. So nothing hunting, time to go fishing.
It's not going to take long. The temperature readings I had were 39. I actually took a trip out in Winnie. I was looking around. Hey, Craig, glad you're with us. And then in some deeper lakes and deeper bays, the water temperature was 40.5 surface temp, and that's right away in the morning. So you're getting pretty close. And James, yeah, one of your I think it was your son came by at the Sioux Falls Ice Show. I'm glad that stuff made it there, and congratulations on your win. So the water temps are right there, and all it's going to take is a couple cold nights, cold mornings, and then let Mother Nature not get too windy, and we'll be all set. But tonight we have a guest, our usual guest, but just for a little bit because it's about Sam and I here talking about a shop here before we start turning it into a guest show again. And so, Brooke, bring on Nick Cox, president of Razor Augers. How's Nick doing?
How you guys doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for
Good.
having me.
Getting ready for the shows, huh?
Ready for the show. I was packing the trailer today, getting ready to go out to Blaine. It'll be our first show of the year. And then obviously we got St. Paul, Wisconsin, Duluth. So ready for a good season, a busy season.
A super busy season. And what's new with Razor Augers? I'm going to be down at Blaine, just so everybody knows. So make sure to stop in. I'll be there Saturday to say hi to everybody, and I will be in the Razor booth, so helping them out because that place gets busy and you need all the help you can get. So what's new?
Yeah, so we're super excited. We've got all of our great products again this year, from hand augers to lithium units. But building off what we launched last year, were our synthetic augers, which are very lightweight units compared to our metal versions. And what we launched last year, in addition to like the synthetic, the lighter weight units, was what we called ice wings, which were built for a super smooth breakthrough. Built for your brushless drill to protect your battery and your motor from fatigue and just extra wear and tear. So that was launched last year on the 8-inch units, and we're excited to announce that on all 6-inch Scouts, Lights, and Ultras, they will all be equipped with our exclusive ice wing technology going forward. So we're really excited about that.
Well, and I got to say, I got a chance to use it from prototype to finished product. I love how smooth the transition is through the ice. And Sam, you've had a chance to play with it too.
Yeah, I got the synthetic ultra last year, and those wings really help that bottom breakthrough. You know, you don't get that jar at the bottom. It just kind of cuts through like butter. So love it. It's lightweight. Love rocking the drill. Augers never go back to a power head, I don't think.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
And Razor is by far is the best auger out there. And I might be partial, but I like how light it is, and I like having a drill in the garage that I could use. And so, I have my preferences. Nick, what do you recommend if someone buys the Razor Synthetic Ultralight? Which drill should they get? Which brushless drill?
Well, for the Scout, the Light, and the Ultra, you're going to want an 18-volt brushless or higher. So 18-volt or higher brushless drill. You're going to want about 750 inch-pounds of torque, which is most of the drills on the market today. You'll want a side stabilizer handle for two-handed operation, and you definitely want to have a minimum, around that 5-amp-hour battery just to get you through a whole day of fishing, multiple holes without any issues. So it's not too much. There's nothing too much to it. Really, any drill that you can go into any of the box stores or hardware stores and just ask them, because they're familiar. Ask the sales reps. They're familiar with what people are doing with these drills. Ask them, will this power an auger, or how many foot-pounds of torque does this have? That's going to be your biggest thing. From there, you can go ahead and upgrade your batteries at a later time, et cetera, et cetera.
You can get a super ginormous drill too. It's a cement mixer, kind of mud mixer and stuff. What do you think of that versus the lighter ones?
Well, I mean, everybody talks about wanting to be lightweight. So once we go to lightweight stuff and then we see people putting things on mud mixers, we kind of scratch our heads a little, right? But mud mixers are great. A drill does a fine job, right? We have curved shaver style blades. So a drill is going to operate that and allow that auger to shave layer through layer just fine. The mud mixer is going to give you more torque, and it's going to operate just at a little slower speed. But they work great. And a lot of people like having that just different configuration for your hands on a mud mixer. And they like maybe just a slower speed, but more torque. They feel more comfortable. So really it's up to you with how, at what speed you want to run these things or how you want to run them.
Maybe for a hard house.
Yeah, you could also put the Ultras on a power head. So if you've got a gas power head or electric power head and you have it and it's got a metal bit and you want to lighten that load a little bit, you can also just adapt this right to a power head, and it works like that. So
we got a question here, Nick. Someone wanted to know where can they get a spare 40-volt battery? Can they buy one or can they get one from you?
Yeah, Razor Power or RazorIceAugers.com. We've got our batteries listed there. We've got our 24-volt, which we no longer produce. But we also offer our 40-volt batteries. You'll find those right on our website.
Super cool. And someone got into the how do you mount this on your sled? And Otter makes a tube that you can throw it in that goes right on your on some of your Otter gear. But also people use Y racks, and they'll use there's one Jaws of Ice or something like that. But there's a lot of different ways to go. The Otter auger tube is fantastic. Probably a little bit big for this, but what do you use for yours?
Well, if I'm running, like I see some comments here. I mean, if I'm running in a situation where I need our 40 volt, if I'm up on Lake of the Woods, I'm drilling through, 38, 40 inches of ice.
Mhm.
That's when I use a 40 volt power head. But I use my Otter auger carrier on my monster box. But inside my monster box, there will always be a surprise, and I'll have to show this at some point. Some pictures but I collapse down a 6-inch and a 4-inch auger as well to 31 inches, and I fit them in my monster box. So whether we're going out to scout or check new areas, I usually have 1 or 2 augers on me. 1 you can usually see at all times, and 2 are usually hidden and stowed away.
Yeah, what do you use, Sam, when you're drilling?
For transporting or drilling around?
Drilling and then transporting.
I'm kind of the standard Minnesota angler, and I run the 8-inch. It works for everything for me, whether that's panfish or big pike. It's the most versatile size. So I run that on a DeWalt brushless drill, and yeah, like I said, I even have some smaller batteries, 4s and 5 amps, and I just bring a handful of them. That way you can keep the batteries warm. Because I think your biggest enemy that I see is the batteries getting cold out there. So I like bringing a handful of batteries and keeping a spare warm, and that can drill plenty of holes for me.
Especially when it's below zero, it just saps it down. We see it with drill batteries, but we see it with camera batteries when we're on photo shoots.
Yeah.
The cold is not good for anything, but just keep it semi-insulated. But I don't remember, how do you have your auger on your 4-wheeler?
Yep, I just run it on a simple Y rack I made. But I think it was Nick or you brought up a good point last year. Right now it's in the front.
No.
It's better to keep it back behind you because those blades are so sharp on those razors. If you happen to hit something or go over, so a lot of times I'll just throw the cover on it and throw it in my Otter and tow it behind the 4-wheeler like that now, because yeah, it's a good point to keep those sharp blades behind you.
And we don't want to get into the gory details, but I've seen and heard of some horrific accidents on the auger being in the front of the machine. Just terrible stuff. And so if there's any way possible to put it towards the back and double check it. And I see people running without any cover on their blades, and you got kids walking around at face level, and people could just go right in with your stomach. But anyway, long and short of it, just watch the auger thing, cover your blades, and then make sure you don't put it on the front.
And if you are having it on the front, like with my setup, early ice with the monster box on the back and everything, I don't always have the auger tube, and I do have an auger mount on the front as well. But I always make sure 2 things. I always have 2 bungees that are like fixed to my front rack that also wrap around the auger. So if I'm traveling a little bit longer distance, out on the lake, I have that. Not if I'm going from little, 50 yards here, 50 yards there at a mile per hour. But then also I remove my battery when I'm traveling. And for me, I think it's just a peace of mind knowing that something crazy is not going to happen, or I'm not going to lose my battery. So yeah, if you're going to have it on the front and that's what you're confined to, maybe strap it down and remove your battery and keep your blade cover off.
Well, Nick knows it was a loaded question because I am on him all the time about strapping it down and put something on your blades. And that's only because Daddy Bro has seen a lot of stuff happen on the ice. And but anyway, moving on here. Nick, I hear you have a giveaway tonight.
Yeah, we're going to give away, well, I'd say let's do should we go with a 4-inch Scout? No, let's do an 8-inch synthetic Ultra. So let's.
That's a giveaway there.
Yeah, I mean, it's before ice season, right? People are getting ready, so let's give away.
You're talking about one of these.
Here. You can power it with your brushless drill. ideally, or you can hook it up to your power head, your pre-existing power head, or you can hook it up to a clam drill plate if that's the route you want to go. It's ultra adaptable, but I'll give one of those away. So if you pick the winner, and at the end of the show, you just let me know where I'm sending this thing.
Yep.
I'll get it out tomorrow or the next day, because we've got Blaine Hardwater Expo coming up here. And
you're quick. It sometimes takes me a couple days to get them out. But on top of the auger, we're gonna have the other Bro giveaway stuff. So we got a Northland prize pack. Some of Bro's favorites are in this selection. Bro Roadshow mug, Bro Roadshow stocking cap, and then some swag from Visit Bemidji. We got a little hoodie there and mini stuffed animal Paul and Babe. So to enter and to win the auger and this giveaway, make sure to like, comment, and share the show. And Brooke will be picking out a winner towards the end of the show here.
Oh yeah, Brady there, that the Visit Bemidji, he's got a good idea. Him and the crew there, they really have some pretty cool swag, and everybody's wanting on that. But I think Nick, you just brought something big.
Well, no, I mean, it's just complimentary to what you guys are offering. I really like that Bro Roadshow stocking cap. I saw that. That's new for this year.
It's warm too.
And I know, and I did just realize too, that's a Paul Bunyan plush, not a Bro plushie. So the hair color was wrong.
Maybe for next year we can talk to Brady about getting a stuffed Bro too.
Well, it's got to laugh if you poke it though, right? Because I'm ticklish. All right. So how much does the 8-inch auger weigh?
6 pounds.
6 pounds.
Yeah, just
fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, so well, I want to thank Nick for coming out tonight, and we're going to have you on again, so hopefully we can bring you on for a little bit longer, but we got to get into panfish, and I know Nick loves panfish.
You guys do it. I'm going to listen. I'm going to sit back and tune in.
And Nick, we've had some good trips where you've got some super monster bluegills and crappies, and there's nothing more fun. And of course, Sam gets to go all the time because he's a lure designer, and he gets to go. But so hang out.
I have to switch professions.
Well,
and then maybe I'll get to go more.
You have to drill all the holes for us, and then
that's the thing.
Me and Bro will catch the fish, right?
Just because I'm part of Razor doesn't mean I enjoy drilling the holes.
Well, that's what I always say. I said, Nick, you're in that auger company, so you like drilling holes. So whenever he comes, I go, hey, Nick, we need some more holes over here, and he doesn't care.
I get it done
because he knows he's going to catch fish. But so hang out and listen to the show. We're going to be talking about panfish, and I know how much you love big panfish. So thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.
And so, Sam, we're gonna go pan-centric here, and I know we talk about walleyes a lot. And you even said we just kill the walleye thing, and it's time to kind of go after that thing that we don't like talking about.
I know, yeah, and we won't get into the nitty-gritty details of where we go, but let's talk about the early ice panfish, which I think is one of we talked about red a lot last weekend because it's one of the first to freeze. One of the biggest lakes in the area is the first to freeze, but right next to them are some of the small lakes for panfish, and they're fun to get into. They hold some giant secrets sometimes some good numbers, but it's a really, really good early ice opportunity. I think the majority of our followers ice fish for panfish a good percentage of the time. So,
oh, absolutely. Panfish are probably they are my number one favorite fish to catch. They fight. And you can check out these are big fish, and my fingers look like sausages, but that is a monster gill. And we get out on the ice, and there's Nick Linder. He had a chance to join us on some of our ventures. And Sam, you were on this when we were doing some photos and early stuff. And there's Charlie Peterson.
I missed this one last year. If I was there, you'd have a bunch of photos of me. No, but
Nick, that's right. That was Brad Hawthorne, yep. Charlie Peterson, and Nick Linder. And Charlie, he's a good stick. He really keeps going and going, and he's bound and determined to catch some really big fish and does a great job. But bluegills for their size are phenomenal fighters, and I know they're super good to eat, but we don't want to talk about that too much. Except, maybe later we'll get into size structures to eat, but at times it can be really difficult. And, they're, the reason they're so difficult is they have, hey, good to see you too, Mike. Dennis. It's their eyesight. Just like crappies, they have very good eyesight. They have binocular vision, and they can see stuff that we can't see with the naked eye. Little zooplankton, and when they get into big schools, there's a lot of excitement. You get a lot of action, lots of bites, and it's really tough at times to make these things happen. And in fishing tournaments, panfish are a big part of it because it takes a lot sometimes to make a bite, and sometimes they just bite. I mean,
yeah,
and and so,
well,
but
they can be match the hatch eaters, and doing all the product design. I think I've learned most of this from you because you've always been really good. I mean, really, when it comes to some of our panfish lures, maybe I'm the product executor, but most of these designs that we've come out since I've worked at Northland have been inspired or created by you in one way. And I know one thing you really like to do is get detailed.
Like this, here's a gill getter, and if I get it close to the camera, you could see this is Wonder Bread. Isn't that crazy? And it's got bulging eyes.
Yeah, you could see it there. But the gill getter that we redesigned in tungsten's got the bulging eyes. It's got the little mandible jaws, what we've always called it, but it's got a jawline in it. Just super buggy and super detailed. Yep, there you can kind of see it now. He kind of looks like he's frowning.
Yeah, and my fingers are. I went fishing today before the show, so they got a little fishing ugly going on. But that is a really cool design, and it's light, but 60-degree turned eyelet, so the lure slightly hangs down. So when the panfish come up, they can grab the hook, and it's about how the fish are approaching, 90, 60. There's a lot of different ways to go, or straight vertical.
Yeah.
But I like the shape of that hook. The hook itself is perfect for hooking waxworms, maggots, minnow tail. Yeah, did I say minnow tail? Yeah, that works too. And even a small minnow head, like from a crappie minnow. But that hook is perfect to hit the jaw, the upper mouth of the bluegills and crappies. But when they come in, they'll come in and they grab the bait and spit it out. And that's where, I don't know how many spring bobbers and different bobbers and things were designed, light rods, because of the light movement or just the upbite. So we can get into the anatomy of a bite, but one of the reasons I go to thinner line diameters is because of their superior vision, crappies and bluegills. And crappies could just flat out say no. Bluegills, you seem like you could trigger aggression on them. They're more of an aggressive fish, and that's one thing I love about it.
So, bro, getting back to let's wrap together line and hook angles. What kind of knot do you use? Because I know you're really particular about this sometimes. What kind of knot do you use to tie on your little panfish jigs, and then explain why you do that?
Well, I use a loop net, and I've got some renderings here. Some sketches we'll show you. Okay, here's the first. Now, okay, it's not computer simulated, but you just take your line and you make a loop, and the left side is the tag end. Now, number 2, you put that tag in through the jig, and then number 3, bring it back through the loop and wrap it 4 times, and then number 4, slide it down and trim it off, and then the actual line segment is pointing down, and that little bit of a loop allows it to move on its axis. And you just get so much more action with that kind of knot than you would with a traditional cinch or any other kind of knot. And it allows the lure to sit the way you want it to.
Yeah.
And if I can get this one to sit still here.
So you got the flat fry there. So we got the mud bug and the gill getter that have that 60-degree tie eye. And I think It makes a ton of sense for me to use this a lot of the times because, like you said, fish feed from bottom up. They're going to be eating that hook first. If you ever watch them on your AquaView, a lot of times on a flat jig, they'll come in and bluegills will hit the nose and you're not getting the hook. But as we were talking about picky eaters of panfish, sometimes that 90-degree eye, so that bait hangs horizontal, perfectly horizontal, is super important. And I think, my theory on it is you got bug eaters that eat stuff coming up off the bottom like this. And then you got minnow eaters and the minnow sits flat. Minnows don't swim around like this or like this. So it's really important to get that flat. So that's why we created the flat fry for fry minnows to have that 90-degree presentation.
And that's a perfect lure to add plastics, and it really works well with maggots, but it's super good with wax worms. Yep. Put one wax worm on as the body, you thread it on, and then hang a couple wax worms off the tip. But then also, I've got a St. Croix tungsten tamer rod, and it's got that highlighted tip. And you can just see in a lot of bites, there's the way to lure, the bite will be up. Mm-hmm. And that's how light panfish are grabbing it. And I've looked on the AquaView, you could actually see the lure disappear in their mouth. And so a lot of times, AquaView, the micro cameras actually will help you set the hook. I mean, you're at that point, you're just waiting for the wax worm to disappear and then set the hook. So these are super cool. Or on the Humminbird Mega Live, you could actually see movements, and it's really cool to just to keep it going. And then if you load it up with maggots, it is going to change the dynamic a little bit. Watch that, and then always drop it in the hole, jig your lure in the hole before you drop it down, and see what it does.
And it will change it a little bit, but again, that tungsten is so dense, and the maggots are kind of similar density of the water. It's not going to affect it a whole lot. But yes, that's a really important fact to always look at what your lure is doing in the water. And that kind of brings us to my next question of talking about your jigging cadence. In fact, we were talking about it in the office this week. That always seems like you know exactly what to do.
Well,
by reading the body language of the fish.
Yeah, just watching the fish on the screen, whether I'm using Mega Live, I was actually using Mega Live tonight before the show, fishing panfish, and they weren't super deep. I had some panfish in 13 to 15 feet, and they'll swim up to it quick, and then they stare, swim up to it quick and stare, and the cadence, you want it to look like real life. You're not. It's not a karate movie. You're not karate kicking that thing at them, trying to scare them away. Sometimes I'll have clients come in and they jig so hard, it's like they want to not catch a fish, and so it's just subtle motions. You just a couple hops to let it happen. Let the coffee shakes do their job, and then remember, when you set it in the hole before you drop it down, try moving the bait on the hook without moving the jig head. If you watch in a tournament when all the pros are out on the ice, as a matter of fact, it's extremely boring to watch because they're all standing in the wind with the rod out like this, watching the screen. And when they get a fish, it's so fast. That fish is just up in the bucket so fast. That's the exciting part for a split second. But it's the stoic, statuesque hold, and what they're doing is shaking the bait. Now, when the fish are aggressive, you could actually just do short jigs to make it happen, but always bluegills, you can get down in them, and if one bites, it triggers aggression in the other one. Sometimes it'll clear the house out a little bit, but crappies, you definitely want to lead them up. You got to pull them out of the school, get them to come up a little bit, and then when you get them to hit, they're not going to explode in the school. And crappies, they're very you can scare them away really easy. They're timid, and so pull them up, try to get them 2, 3, 4 feet up, then set the hook. You catch more without having to move, and that's unless you're in weeds. Everything has something that changes the action or reactions.
Do you ever find yourself needing to bang bottom that much with bluegills and crappies, or even just set stuff in the bottom?
It's 100% perch all the time, and walleyes too. That depending on what lake you're on, but with bluegills, there are some bodies of water where you bang the bottom. As a matter of fact, you touch the bottom and you just bring it up where there's barely any separation in the bottom. Yeah. Lakes that have a lot of bloodworms, they will be feeding right next to the bottom, watching and waiting for it to come up a little bit. But if you bring it up high at their level, they don't bite. It has to be next to the bottom, and that's crazy. So you'll bang the bottom just a little bit, but not too much. We don't want a mushroom cloud. We want a little puff. And some lakes are real silty, and so just tap the bottom, and then bring it up just sometimes the width of the hook, and other times you're just bringing it up a few inches. But in most lakes, you bring it up to the fish and then let them come and bite on it. And even if you're using straight line reels, fly reels, you still get spin if you over jig. So if you have a spinning reel, remember when the fish comes up, you just keep it moving, because actually moving it keeps it in place. If you stop, it starts unfurling. So that's the nice thing with straight line. But if you keep moving, you just got to keep it moving. But as far as the match the hatch, that's a great question. How do you determine? Basically, under the ice, match the hatch is a saying on open water hatches, but what you're seeing is insect activity, and under the ice is everything that comes out in the summer, but in larval form. So the bloodworms they're in little holes, little tubes in the bottom, and they come out and they kind of sift matter through. They eat decaying stuff, and everything down there eats everybody else. So they'll eat zooplankton, a lot of the other insects. Mayfly larvae are big and not always available, and perch will go after them. But for the most part, super small stuff. And bluegills and crappies can sift out, zooplankton. So, there's a question, Sam. What are your thoughts on a spring bobber? Do you use spring bobber?
I don't use a spring bobber a lot, but I use rods. The rod technology has improved so much. I use a rod, like that St. Croix there, that it's basically a built-in spring bobber.
Yep, tungsten tamer, and it still has a soft tip.
Yep.
But it has a level of backbone, and a good rod bends here, but not here. You got to have a spot where when it loads up, it doesn't bend. And even if you're using a lighter one, I've got all different sizes here, but depending on how their length and everything, and so there's a much shorter one. I think this one's only a 20-incher, but this is good for in a house. If you're in a house real tight, that makes a big difference. And we got a picture here. When I'm using my otter houses, I like to walk out. No, obviously we're walking out first ice. This is my setup if it's cold. Now this day was really windy and super cold and not a lot of ice. So you pack light, you load up the house. The house is like your boat in the summertime. It's your tackle box. It's your storage system. Razor auger in hand, and I pull it out, and that thing pulls so nice. If you get deep snow on top of early ice, it gets a little bit more, but then you could just strap it around in a harness. But I put on miles and miles and miles early ice on all different types of lakes all over the place. And then, but once you're there and that thing's set up, the Otter Cottage is a little house that fishes big. I mean, I'm a big guy, and I'm swimming in that otter house. Yeah. And so it's cool. But one thing I found out with otter, and it's not like this anywhere else. When you buy an otter, it's like a Lund. I mean, you don't just dump them at the end of the year. These things are like made forever, and you don't have to get the same one the following year because the one you had is still intact. And Sam, yours is older, but it looks brand new.
Yeah, the one thing I bum on a little bit with mine is, I think it's like 5 or 6 years old now. It looks brand new, but I bought it the year before they switched to the gray sleds. So whenever I'm taking photos of it, it's not a great promotional sled because it doesn't look like the new ones, but I have no reason to to upgrade it now because it's still in pristine condition, where the house I had previous to it looked like a car from the 1960s by the time I was done with it. There was holes and bent things, but yeah, no, the Otter it's built to last, that's for sure.
Well, from their hub style houses and to their bigger houses, the Otter Resort I have for clients, and that's so heavy duty. Wind ain't gonna blow it over because it's just a big Taj Mahal and great place if you're fishing big fish, longer rods. You can do anything in there. But what I like is the Pro X over with the side doors and then the buckets. You know, these are boat seats in a house. It's really nice.
See, and I'm opposite. I rock the bench in mine. I like the bench because you got a place to put things. I always put my tackle box next to there. But it's the cool part about Otter is there's a bunch of different choices. But I like that bench seat in there.
Well, the bench is super cool for guiding and then for setting stuff. And typically, I'm kind of nomadic. I'm all over the ice. I get really bored really fast. And then, Brian, how do you keep the heater from burning the tarp? You pay attention to it, but
that is a good thing about the Otter. So with the Otter, the installation, I just run a little single buddy on a 20-pound tank with a hose, and you just need that little heater to heat that giant house. So it is much harder to burn the house because my old weathered house used to have to run the sunflower heater, and it showed a few holes because of it. Well, I don't think you can run a sunflower heater in the Otter; it'd be too hot.
And I don't really like the sunflower. That's you've got a lot of emissions going off in the house, and just a simple little heater hog or buddy. Those things work really well. And as far as burning it, just make sure people have a system. I know people that always keep something between their heater and the wall. And there's a lot of times I don't use a heater. That day I didn't use a heater. Everybody was outside, red in the face, fingers, they could barely move them. And I was toasty and catching fish. And I'm an outside guy, but I'm really loving being on a bucket seat inside that house. And so that's the Otter Cottage that I was pulling by hand. And then when you could take a machine, I might opt for a bigger one. But when you're pan fishing, you're moving around, and I'm only in the house. Wind is a big factor on the ice. Wind kills you. And Otter has LED lighting system. What I like about their lighting system, it's like the brightest, and it has you can dim it or raise it, but you put the lights up where you want them, and then you add the cords that go to your amped battery. So, and that's a good idea. Always leave your vents open, and you'll be set. And the on the Vortex hubs, their footprint is really nice. The only thing I recommend if you're going to be fishing with family or friends, look at those hubs because you could drill a straight line of holes, put your Humminbird in the middle, and you can see everybody's lines. And then,
what do you have? Is it the Vortec Lodge hub?
Yeah, I got the Vortec Lodge, and I've got a monster I'm going to run this year just because you can fit people, excuse me, in a row.
I think we ran 5 guys in your Lodge hub, and it was like still comfortable on a shoot.
It is, and the thing is, you still got to spread your lines out to have a really good chance at catching a lot of big fish. And if you have kids with, park them in front of the Humminbird, give them an Aquaview camera to play with. They're going to have fun. And then also, as Levi will tell you, with iFish Pro, Brofish Pro, I'm going to have iFish Pros out there because instead of just leaving a rod in a bucket and losing it, because I used tip ups when I was a kid where there's line all over the ice, and I like reeling in a fish on a rod. I mean, come on, my knuckles ain't dragging anymore on the ground, and iFish Pro, put the rod on the tip up, and then when you get a bite, the flag goes up. I don't need it to set the hook. That's what I'm there for. And automatic hook setting devices are illegal in Minnesota, but I know they have some merit in some places. But one thing I got to tell you, the iFish Pro is iFish cool, and we're going to be sporting those this year. Outside of where you could see with your Humminbird Mega Live, it's nice to have them at legal distances so you can spread them around on the ice. And we know a big fat rainbow, fathead, or sucker minnow on a light Gamma Cansu hook and a split shot gets bit. So,
hey, bro, moving along with here, this show is flying by the way. It's going quick. So, before we move along, make sure to like, comment, and share the show, and that'll get you entered in to win the giveaway. Nick Cox from Razors giving away that Synthetic Ultra 8-inch along with this Bro Roadshow prize pack. So we got some of Bro's favorite Northland lures in there. The little plush Paul and Babe from Visit Bemidji, and then some Bro Roadshow swag. So like, comment, and share. And Brooke will be picking out a winner at the end of the show here. Now back to panfish. Let's talk a little bit about lakes without you giving up any secrets. What kind of lakes are you looking for? And then my question is, a lot of lakes have that early weed line panfish bite, and then it seems like other lakes have the basin bite. So how do you look at a lake and determine where to start fishing?
Well, you see, the lakes are changing. Even the lakes up here for big crappies and bluegills. There's some lakes that have really good populations, but nobody's finding them or catching them on the ice, especially first ice in the deep holes. Well, because the water is so clear due to zebra mussels, the fish are suspending. So they're relating more to the surface and to the shoreline break than they are to the bottom. Then later in the winter, when they drop down the bottom after a whole bunch of cold fronts, everybody magically catches them. But they're wondering what all that stuff is on their screen swimming by as they're fishing underneath them. There's a clue right there. When you're fishing super clear lakes, especially early ice, know that they could still be holding to the weed line. Just go up there, drop your 360 or your Mega Live, and look around. You're not going to see them perfectly in the weeds, but 360 shows shadows, even if there's weeds. And it's like a radar. So that thing's kind of nice to leave out. If you're fishing in an area that's real complicated, you can see the shadows and then go act on it. But going in the weeds and fishing right in the weeds, then on the edges, especially clear water. But you got to give it time. You can't just blow through there if you're dealing with dense weed mats and there's still milfoil and all that stuff. And when I go fishing, I always bring maggots and waxworms. On some bodies of water, waxworms just outproduce on bluegills. On other bodies of water, small maggots keep the body of the bait smaller. So 2 maggots. Rarely do you go to 1. That's end of January, February, but 2 or 3. And I know here, a bluegill will eat big stuff. I mean, because they're big and they're bigger than normal, and the crappies too. But crappies sometimes bulk, having a bloodworm tail or mayfly, and then adding maggots or waxworms, or using a brobuck spoon. But I was going to just say, here's a great runaround glove for the ice, Fish Monkey Stealth Dry Tech. I love these things, and I got my Hunt Monkey stuff, but these have blood from the deer that I did. But here's the Woolies, fingerless, just cool stuff. I mean, and then as far as, I never wear anything more than my Ninja hoodie and running around the ice. It's breathable, and they also have these with the face guard, so when you're going into the wind, I'll just have an Avco bib on, the insulated rain suit bib, and this stuff, and I'm good. Except if there's a lot of wind, I duck inside.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to bait, you talked a lot about the little tungsten jigs. How about spoons? Is spoons, that's something I use a lot up here for panfish. But when and where do you use spoons for bluegills and crappies?
Well, I actually have a lot of spoons tied up because last winter was one of those winters that if crappies are even 10 inches and 9 inches and up, they're going to eat the Brobug spoon. It's a slim profile, and it's got the bulging eyes. And I love those little silver eyes. I don't know how close I get to it.
And that lure is a perfect example to your buggy detail you like to put into your designs.
Yeah. And so it looks like a young of the year hatchling. It looks like a bloodworm coming out, and the eyes, they focus on the eyes, and then they come in, and that's been a really, really good spoon. Hang a wax worm on, just hook it on, and it's easy to get. It's fragile. But when they suck it in, they go too far, and then you just lift and you set the hook. But so the Brobug spoon.
What colors?
And I would always go with pink. Pink is a great crappie color. Sneeze. Then, of course, I love those Super Glow forage spoons. Yeah. I got one right here. You can see that is unbelievable. And like I said last time, Sam shows up with this new stuff, and he's got like 8 perch on the ice, and I'm wondering what's going on here. So it didn't take long before I migrated to his tackle box and started grabbing.
So usually it's vice versa. So,
well, and so these glow so bright, they actually draw fish in from a distance. And dark water is a great place to go. Starting in stained water is always one of the best places to go during the day. And but it's a little tougher, even stained lakes, because we haven't had a lot of rain, don't have the runoff, so the water's gin clear. It's going to be a different winter, so I think we're going to be digging into the weeds to get these fish, and small spoons are going to make them happen. And then I don't even know how small this spoon is. It's smaller than it's so tiny, this little forage price spoon.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to think if we still have the 64th in there. 32nd, I think.
That's a 32nd. I mean, I'm trying not to get it in one of my cracks in my fingers here. It's so small it could go right in there.
That is one of my favorite bluegill baits out there. If they're going on a little spoon like that, it's just nonstop fun. You get good hooks in them. It's 32nd. It's 1/32 ounce, but it still falls quick. Because you got the it's inline, streamline. You can punch it through the slush. So if I can get bluegills or crappies to go on that little forage minnow spoon, in fact, the forage minnow I often use 16th or 8th for crappies, but that 32nd ounce for bluegill is money.
So as far as charging these, there's a lot of chargers on the market. Just press the button, they flash. I have an old one. Just don't stare at it. It's kind of volatile, but I drop it in there and I glow it. But I also have a little flashlight, and it might be just a basic one, but it works. And you got the UV lights at Northland there that work super well.
So when it comes to glow paint is something that absorbs light. So it works, but it works the worst is just your standard LED headlamp, phone, whatever, lights in your fish house. They will charge it up. What will charge it faster than that is a UV light, because that UV has more energy. So Northland has a couple options of a Glowbuster UV light. We got a little keychain one, and then a little larger battery powered one. They work phenomenal. And then thirdly, the best thing to charge it with, which often isn't the time you need it with, but sunlight. So sunlight will charge them. Throw your jig box up on the dash before you go fishing. It'll give you a little pre-charge to go out. But UV is the best handheld to do it. And Northland's got a Glowbuster UV light. You can find it on our website, and it's at a number of the retailers too.
I got a couple of questions that came in, and I got to answer I had to take my sock off. So someone was asking, how do you keep your feet warm? Fish Monkey socks. These are pre-articulated. They're just a really cool sock, and they're merino wool, made in America. Fish Monkey socks, and they got thick, comfortable, over the calf, or not quite that tall socks. I'm telling you, they're the real deal, and your feet are comfortable because they're real cushy. It's like having an aerosol in there. So Fish Monkey socks are super cool. If you haven't checked them out, do it. Do yourself a favor. And the price is really good considering that it's an American-made good. So make sure to check that out. And then another quick thing, catching walleyes using spoons. Someone was saying, I never catch them. What do you do different? And I don't think there's really any magic other than drop it down and don't keep ripping it. Jig it once and make sure when you jig in the hole to get an action. And imagine what an insect's doing when it's feeding. It's doing stuff, or minnow, and just keep it moving. Just shake it. When the walleye comes in, if it backs away, you're over jigging. If it comes forward, keep doing what you're doing, and don't panic. Don't panic. I mean, it's just like anything when a big fish comes in, you've been waiting for this thing to bite. Don't panic. Keep moving, because a lot of people, I have clients, they'll stop. They freeze up. Just like I don't guide for muskies, but I did take a trip because it was a regular walleye client, and they couldn't get in with anybody. They didn't get treated super well. And I said, I'll take you for a half day. And we raised 8 muskies, but the first cast, they had a super monster up to the boat and panicked and stopped reeling. And the fish just swam away. So after I had that young guy figure eighting every single time. And so it's, just don't freeze up when the walleye comes in. You're going to see him on forward viewing. You're going to see him on 2D mode. And that's another thing. Love my Humminbird ice package, and no other company has this, where you could switch from Mega Live, you could do pinging stop, and go to 2D sonar when the fish comes in if they feel the energy from the beam, because some lakes are real funny like that, But Sam, you even had someone go down on the water and say that Humminbird was the quietest unit.
Yeah, I was asking some guys about units, and you kind of told me at first that you thought you were out on a guide trip with some other guys, and you were like, my fish aren't spooking, and the other guys said it. And I knew a guy that had both of them, and I said, bro was telling me this. And the next day he called me back, and he's like, hey, I went out and listened to him, and the Humminbird's a lot quieter than some of the other brands out there. So that was an interesting take.
Yeah, it's really come a long way, and there's updates. Updates are pretty cool. You got a brand new unit with the same unit you own, and I can't even believe I could see micro tackle in deep water. I can cast it out and have crappies and bluegills follow it. So you got to check it out. The Humminbird Ice Kit, the updates really work. All you do is you go to the page that has Humminbird updates and make sure you go into your screen and find out what program you have, what level, the number, and then update to the next one. Don't jump ahead. You got to update in order. And so Humminbird keeps it real, keeps it going. And you can Bluetooth it on your phone, the update. Make sure you get good signal. We had a quick question on what length rod I use for panfish. Well, I have them from, I have a lot of different ones, but my favorite's probably 28 inches. You get that great parabolic bend. And if I'm outside, I'll go 32. I'll go even longer, 36. But the tungsten tamers are all perfect. And, as short as I'll probably go. Let me see what. Okay, I've got the Pan Finesse, and that is, oh my gosh, I need glasses. But this one's a little bit shorter, about as short as I would ever go, and that's a 24, and that's ultralight extra, and so that's perfect in a house. When I'm in the cottage, it doesn't have a lot of ceiling room because I'm a big guy. But, so 24 would be the shortest, up to 32 or 36 for outside roving.
That 28 to 30 I really like because it does both really well.
Oh, they're just phenomenal. And if anybody out there hasn't checked out St. Croix, this ain't a company that just gets blanks and rolls them and says, hey, check me out. They make it from scratch. I mean, this is like American made from scratch. They start with basic stuff and roll this beautiful rod. It's just beautiful handcrafted rods. The CI rods, the custom ice rods are great. The Scandics, they have unbelievable spring bobbers that are exclusive to St. Croix. They got a whole bunch of lines. So stop down the St. Paul Ice Show and check out St. Croix. You're going to be amazed. And I have to stay with Old Americana. St. Croix has been there, and they roll it out. They make it right there. And they will give you a tour on how they do this stuff, but it's really cool stuff. And then as far as line, we had a question about line. Yeah, St. Croix in Wisconsin. I mean, make sure in that Sunline fluoro ice. If you don't have fluoro ice, it's FC ice. So this is FC ice. 3 pound is a good one, but they make two and one. If you can't find it, order it. But if the shop doesn't have it, tell them to get it, because there's some other companies that will use Sunline, but it's not this high quality. And my favorite color is clear, always clear. Sunline fluoro ice. And if you want braid, you're going to fish in a house, 8 or 10 pound SX1 Sunline. And I found it by accident at a show, and I bought it and loved it. And as far as flashers, I use a Humminbird. My ice unit has everything. It's got 2D. It's got Lake Master mapping. I got the VX chip. The VX chip is pretty cool stuff. It has shoreline, and it has all this cartography, and you can arrange the colors. This actually helps, and it's like a safari. Before I leave home, I'm looking on my graph for new humps and structures, marking ahead of time. And okay, Sam, we're getting close. What could somebody win before you announce the winner?
Yep. So yeah, we got the winner picked because we're just running up to the end. But they're going to win an 8-inch synthetic ultra from Razor, I believe, and then the Bro Roadshow prize pack. We got Northland's Bro picks in there, some Bro Roadshow swag, and some stuff from Visit Bemidji. So before I announce the winner, another thing I think we'd love to have you guys do is comment some of the topics you'd like to see for next show.
Fire some topics at us. We'd like to help you out with it. And we will have some guests, but the guest thing is kind of overdone. And we do have some people we do want to have on here, and we might have it in a different show that we're going to be starting. But we want to make sure that you get techniques, because sometimes we talk about a lot of stuff. In this year, we are talking about details. And Sam, do we have a winner?
Yes, tonight's winner is going to be Richard Wagner. So congratulations.
All right. Congratulations, Richard. What a great prize package.
The comments were just rolling tonight, so it was really fun. So
it was great. And thanks for the questions. And Richard, you get to use the tackle that I use. I mean, they know what I order. I was surprised when Sam did that. He just picked out stuff that I would order. And
those, you know what I like, giveaway.
Yeah. But, I want to also, before we go here, I want to thank our sponsors, Chesterburg Toyota. You got to see it. You got to talk to these guys. They're just great. Salt of the earth and the original Toyota dealership. This is a place you got to stop in. If you're looking for a truck, car, or just want to say hi, stop in and talk to Brian and the gang. They'll lead you in the right direction. And Bemidji Sports Center for a tricked out ride to throw an otter tub or otter on the back. You definitely want to go to Bemidji Sports Center and make sure to talk to the guy Shane and the boys down there. They will hook you up with something really cool. Long track, wide track, studded, you name it. They got some really cool things there for for you to go check out. And then visit Bemidji, because you want to come up here, catch some big panfish, walleyes, talk to Brady and the gang down there. And they got some really cool stuff to talk about, and they will set you in the right direction where to stay. And next week, we will be here Wednesday at 7 p.m., and we're going to talk some super details, and maybe we'll pick some of the stuff that you do. But for now, Sam, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you at the Blaine Show Saturday. And then after that, the St. Paul Ice Show. Goodbye.
Unless there's at least 4 inches of ice, and that's with the safety.
You gotta love it. Yeah, I know. Oh, wow. That's the biggest one yet. Big jumbo perch.